Hello and welcome everybody. My name's Rose Smith from AbsoluteSoulSecrets.com and I'm here with a terrific Taurus May horoscope. And what a huge month it is this month for everybody. Firstly, we have Mercury going retrograde from the 10th to the 3rd of June. And that's in Gemini, and so there's also a shadow period either side of that. It's not a great time to sign contracts. There could be problems with technology, and sometimes there's miscommunications and misunderstandings, so it's a good time to back everything up. The good thing about it though is that anything you start before the 10th of May, maybe a few days, maybe say before the 5th of May, it can be finished during that period. It's a great time for completing old things, anything that's been hanging around, or even a contract that you've been thinking about, or there's been some delay. You might be able to sign it and get it going. But generally things slow down, okay? It's not a great time for travel either, especially where you've got multiple legs of travel. If one goes wrong, and then it mucks up the whole trip basically. So yeah, not the best time. If you can put your travel off to say after the 10th of June, that might be a good idea. Jupiter is changing signs and houses as well. There's a lunar eclipse in Scorpio on the 16th. Australia and New Zealand have a partial solar eclipse on the 1st. The rest of the world would have had this the day before on the 30th of April. It's because of the time differences. And if you're in Australia or New Zealand, it is in your sign. So in Taurus, it's likely to affect you quite strongly. Could be a bit of turbulence, but it's a time of new beginnings. So, and especially around your belief systems and your identity. I'll talk more about that in a moment. In Taurus, there's a likelihood that it's not just sort of up in the ether. It's likely to be quite, on the physical plane. So you could notice some physical changes there. Pluto went retrograde on the 29th of April until the 9th of October in Capricorn. So there's a bit of a reprieve from all of the things that have been going on, quite a heavy load of doing tough stuff. So that's sort of good news. So basically a lot of change this month. Okay, I'll just briefly explain what I do. I like to draw 2 tarot cards as theme cards for the month for you, and then I'll have a look at your horoscope in depth. If you're new, please consider joining my channel, subscribe and be alive. Okay, and hit that notification bell now. Now let's go to the main board for these cards. That's interesting. That I had that all straight and, nice how I like it. And it's just sort of moved by itself. I don't know why these things happen. All right, first thing we're going to do is draw some tarot cards as theme cards for you, terrific Taurus, for May 2022. Closing my eyes now. I've got steps in front of me. They're white steps. They're right here. Often they're to the side, the right side or the left, the right or the left, but they're right in front here, and they're white, which is very unusual. So it's about taking a higher path, a more spiritual path, but they're not very big steps, but you might find that there's lots of little actions you can take to improve your spiritual life. Okay, let's see what comes out for you. We'll go with this one here. Okay, it's a time of patience. Something that you're waiting for hasn't happened yet, but you may have gone through a lot, as I mentioned with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, and now it's like a certain cycle has finished and now you're waiting for something else to start, a new beginning to start, and that's okay. Patience comes often as you get older. I know some people disagree with me, but that's my personal experience. I used to be terribly impatient up to about age 35, and I've sort of learnt that there's some things we just can't change, and no matter what you want to do, it stays the way it's going to go, and you just have to accept that sometimes. There's some green leaves here, means that there's actually growth in, even though you think you're doing nothing on the other levels, everything's sort of stacking up. You know, it's like putting your order in at a restaurant, you have to wait for your food. And so it's a time of patience. Okay, let's have a look. And, you know, as a Taurian, you can probably do that. You can probably manage that a lot better than some other signs, like the fire signs, you know, for example. Alrighty, let's look at the second card now that comes up for the second half of the month. Okay, I'll go with that one. Closing my eyes. Now again, steps again, but they turn into like a rope ladder. I see them actually changing. So it might be that you start off with small steps, but over time they get a little bit wobbly, or they seem more difficult, like you have to put more energy, but you go up quicker too. And you've had your practice run on the small steps, which were fairly easy to take. So this could be like a project, a new job, a new relationship, anything new that's coming. And there is a fair bit of new energy coming in this month, okay? Especially with the new moon, okay, that's coming for the Australians and New Zealanders. Okay, so it is the end of the cycle. I know this looks very dramatic and not very pleasant, but it's a 10. So this is finishing up, or already finished, because it's the end of the cycle. So stabbing in the back, yes, it could be somebody, you know, gossiping or carrying on, but more often it's, you know, what we've allowed to happen to ourselves. Like we've put ourselves in a position, not always, but, you know, sometimes action needs to be taken quite soon. The good thing about it is you realise that the situation wasn't helpful. And maybe your thinking was keeping you in a certain situation at some point, and now, you know, you've had the realisation in your mind that things have to move forward. I do feel particularly this is to do with jobs. A lot of people leaving their job, and the thing called the Great Resignation. You know, you might be feeling, oh, why am I here? I'm just getting money and I don't enjoy it. There is new life beginning after that, of course, with all of these butterflies, and there's lots. There's more than a dozen butterflies there. I don't know if you can see on your device. Even though this looks horrible, it has a silver lining and a positive outcome in the end, because you're about to begin a new cycle. You just have to make that decision. It's swords, so it's about decisions, basically. Alrighty, okay, so they're the cards. Bear those in mind. Now, I'm just going to make this bigger so you can see more clearly. I can see clearly now, as Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young once sung. I think it was in the 70s, maybe, I don't know, 74, 73, something like that. All right, let's have a look at your horoscope now in depth. You'll see that there's a lot of activity on this side of the chart. This is the eastern horizon, okay? So this is what's coming into your life. And it's called an independent chart because it's like you're not relying on other people so much. You become more self-reliant with this and make up your own mind, which is always a good thing. Your ruler Venus is very busy this month across 3 houses, bringing peace, harmony, beauty and comfort into your life, which is always nice. Mercury goes retrograde here in your second house of money, so do be cautious with miscommunications around your possessions, your money, and the things that you value. And it also moves then into your first house, your sign of self, core beliefs, you know, all about you and your identity. Jupiter moves, it goes into Aries and into your 12th house here of the subconscious. So this is a great time for your spiritual life. You can see all of this activity, all of these planets coming into the house of the subconscious. It's also to do with charity. You might feel like helping other people out more. And it's also to do with institutions. Maybe you're going to visit somebody in hospital or in some sort of institution perhaps. But it's about privacy, and you might find that you need more privacy and personal space than usual. It's fabulous for your spiritual life. We also have the lunar eclipse in Scorpio here in your 8th house of joint possessions. So it is a fairly big month about your money and other people's money. What is yours and what is others, you know. So this could be to do with work or relationships particularly. And the lunar eclipse in Scorpio brings up very intense feelings. And they come from deep, you know, the rumbling is like deep down below. So it's some sort of turbulence or transformation that's going on concerning joint resources. And sometimes it's even more than that, it's intimacy in relationships. Okay, so I did mention Australia and New Zealand, a partial solar eclipse here. If you are resident in these countries, then you'll find that your core beliefs are transforming and there's a new beginning over about what you believe and a new beginning with your identity. Maybe you identify less with what you used to do or the things that you used to believe, and now you're looking to grow and change your beliefs about something. It's the end of something and a new beginning that comes fairly soon. Alrighty, let's have a look now in depth. So the first thing is on the 1st of May is the partial solar eclipse for Australia and New Zealand. And you become more definite about your beliefs and your stance on various matters. Maybe you've been sitting on the fence for a while and now you're sort of going to come out and make more definite statements in the world. You may change your hair, makeup or wardrobe, and you could disentangle yourself from people or situations that caught you up in some sort of enmeshed situation. Even if it's a friendship, you know, and you can see it's not going well, you might decide that you're going to, you know, end something or substantially change it because it's not healthy. It's like you have new insight, but I'm reading this because I've got notes here, but I actually just read that as eyesight. So you've got new eyesight now as new ideas and beliefs are considered, and some of these things you're going to adopt into your life. From the 1st of May to the 28th of May, Venus moves into your 12th house here. I know it's a bit jam-packed, but this brings, like I said before, the need for privacy. You're not very sort of sociable at the moment. It's like you don't really feel like getting out and about that much. Sometimes Venus here can indicate that there's some feelings for someone who's not available. And you have to be, you know, very careful and use some discretion here. But on the other hand, it could be that somebody you know or a loved one needs you very much, and you could be called to help them in some way, like I was saying before about sort of like charity in a way, or you're just selflessly giving to somebody, and you know, there's nothing coming back to you in return. That's okay. If you care about somebody, that's probably appropriate if they're in trouble. The 5th of May to the 27th of October, Jupiter moves into your 12th house also. It's a very positive time of healing, renewal, regeneration on an inner, spiritual and psychological level. It's a time for solitude, and you're getting ready to blossom and to burst out into the world shortly. You may be drawn to do some volunteer work as well. The 16th of May sees a lunar eclipse in Scorpio in your 8th house. Here brings brings concerns about jointly held property, assets, perhaps even personal belongings that you have an attachment to. There's also a tendency to behave as you always have behaved, and not look at a situation with new eyes. So I seem to keep referring to eyes. I'm thinking maybe check your eyesight, get your eyesight checked if you've got any issues. Your emotions are likely to be more intense, and just watch that you don't overreact to some encounter. The 12th of May to the 23rd of May sees Jupiter sextiling Mercury, and Mercury will be retrograde during this period. So just, even though, do be careful, because even though there's some success especially with long distance communications, you might find that there's misunderstandings, or maybe you're talking to someone, the call drops out or something like that, because Mercury retrograde does affect technology, for example. You probably find that people in call centres are more helpful than usual, or the people that you work with are more helpful. This is often a good time to advertise or publish or engage in mass media communications. But again, be super careful, maybe run it past somebody else's eyes to make sure that you haven't made a mistake with phone numbers or something. That's something we're always careful about at Absolute Soul Secrets when we advertise, and make sure we got the right phone numbers. That's something that can happen. So with Mercury retrograde, sometimes there's just some little slip-ups, But Jupiter sort of offsets that, because Jupiter does bring good luck and increases everything that Jupiter touches is enlarged in some way. So the only thing about this, is not overly a strong influence, and it can be overpowered by other things. So you do have to be cautious, okay? 8th of May to the 22nd of May, Mercury retrograde conjuncts Mercury, and you might find that you sort of flip-flop from being mentally sharp, alert and clear to being confused, or having cloudy type thinking. Watch for that. And when you're talking, just make sure you're being clear, of course. You probably have high intellectual curiosity, and you want to make plans and strategies, or perhaps you're thinking about beginning a new course of study, particularly with Pluto and your MC here in the 9th house. Pluto is looks after a whole lot of things, but one of which is like life, death, rebirth. And so sometimes you might go back to an old job or a position, do something that you used to do, but in another way, in a different form. And that would sort of make sense with these cards as well. So from the 19th of May to the 21st of June, we have the Sun moving into your second house of finances and possessions. And this brings a lot of insight. You become more practical. You become more aware about your finances and what you can do. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you become clearer about what your next steps should be financially. Then we have the Sun. I just talked about that, sorry. Mercury retrograde in your sign from the 10th to the 3rd of June, plus a week or so shadow period, and that's from the 22nd of May to the 13th of the 3rd of June. So it's retrograde, so it's actually going back into your sign, okay? And what this means basically is be very careful. It's like you're likely to want to speak out and break out into the world with all these sort of brilliant ideas that you've been having, and you're keen and alert to do it. But again, with Mercury retrograde, can be some misunderstandings. The other thing here with Mercury retrograde in your sign is that it's really important to listen to other people, okay? So it's great to have your say, of course, because you do have some brilliant ideas. It's also good to let other people speak as well, because Mercury brings a lot of energy for communications, but of course half of good communications is listening. 23rd of May to the 4th of July, Mars moves into your 12th house here, and this is a bit frustrating sometimes, because it's like you have these ideas and you want to get stuff out into the world and you want to do stuff and take action, but for some reason you can't get your desires, or you can't make your influence be felt in the world. Okay, it's just for a short time, so until the 4th of July, so it's about 6 weeks or something, and 5.5, 6 weeks. It's a good time to retreat from the idea just for the moment and allow matters to take their own course. It's not the best time to act on your own behalf, but it is a great time to act on the behalf of other people, because of that sort of charity type energy. Selfless work will be, very satisfying to you now if you can help other people. And this is probably why we've got the Hangman here saying, just be patient. It's going to happen. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. 23rd of May to the 27th of May, Mercury retrograde trining Pluto. You could find that there's a lot of energy for really penetrating deep conversations about matters. It's like you're really going into something deep. But confusion and sort of foggy thinking can come with that during the retrograde period. Maybe you're looking at contracts and negotiations and business dealings, so be extra and specially careful, because you might have to go back and revisit any contract that you sign, because some sort of situation changes when Mercury moves direct again after the 3rd of June. Plus shadow period of a few days. 27th of May to the 22nd of June sees Venus move into your first house here. This is beautiful. It brings harmony and peace to your life. You want to have your surroundings beautiful, and you want to have graciousness, and it's like you want to get rid of any sort of unpleasantness in your life. And so you're likely to be more charming. You'll be sort of persuasive in a really positive sense, rather than direct and forceful, okay? You might feel it's time for pleasure and affection, and that's more important than work. And as a Libran, I don't disagree with that sentiment at all. The only possible downside is you could be feeling a bit lazy, but at least you feel happy about it. All right, and the new moon goes into your second house here. It's in Gemini. It's time to take care of your possessions, your personal belongings, and your finances. The new moon brings a new start around your money and your possessions. Maybe you're going to buy something. Just be cautious you don't sort of fritter money away. Do your research and be prudent now. Okay, so there's a lot of good influences here. It's a very busy month, so it is super important that you do take time out and not get caught up in everything that's going on. But yeah, a lot of progress to be made this month for you. Terrific, Taurus. So I hope this has been useful for you. Give it a like, leave a comment, or share on your socials. I would really appreciate that. And if you're new, subscribe and be alive and hit that notification bell right now. Have a wonderful month, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks and bye for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please visit my website absolutesoulsecrets.com for all things spiritual. Have a lovely day.